Hello, everyone. Welcome to Kryptonize. Today we have a doctor. She's not just any doctor. Her name is Dr. Marav Ozair. And we're going to talk about her article. That's how I found her. She wrote an article for Nasdaq on tokenization. And she started off by quoting one of my favorite quotes for tokenization by Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, who said the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of those securities. I couldn't agree more. We're going to help flesh that quote out based on her experience and my experience. But before we do, let's hear from her on her background.
Yeah, I'll try to be quick. I mean, my background is very untraditional, unconventional, so I try to be quick. So I started in STEM. I went to a STEM school, started technology. So my first passion is innovation and technology. Then I went to college, got introduced to economics and finance, and that was my second passion. So now, for since then, I'm trying to always try to merge, technology and innovations with finance and economics, trying to apply the tools of technology to solve the problems that we have in finance and economics. So first step for me to do that, and I'm not saying this is the only way to do it, is I decided to go and get my PhD at Stern Business School NYU. So I got my PhD in finance, came to New York City, and since then I'm in New York City and I love it. And but worked a little bit with as a quant, especially with the we just talked before then about the algorithm trading and all of that. I helped them with that, with investing and trading of that. Stumbled on crypto as I was doing it. And since then, for the past 8 years, I'm all about Web3, metaverse, emerging technologies, blockchain, and everything from AI, of course, and all that. So I'm kind of like at the intersection of innovation, technology, and finance and economics.
Wonderful. It's one of the best places to be. You also have a big interest in AI, and it'll be interesting to see how these things play out. Okay, so writing for NASDAQ must be interesting, especially when you're talking about somewhat competitors to it, even though they're not really a competitor yet. And I call these tokenization of real world assets or security tokens. We're still trying to get our hands around what to properly call this. So when you look at this emerging market and you look at something like NASDAQ, there's still a big gap. Although the amount of assets that you can tokenize far exceeds any kind of value in the stock market. So how do you think this will play out in the next 5, 10, 15 years? Do you think everything goes this direction, or you still think there's a stock market and this tokenization world, or do you see something totally different?
Well, I like to be optimistic. And if I'm optimistic, then I do believe that in 5 to 10 years, probably everything will be tokenized. And even those, the traditional ones will move into tokenization and create their own tokenization platform. I do remember, 5 years ago or so, Nasdaq did kind of experimented with the tokenization platform. They didn't call it tokenization, but they call it, back then it was security token. I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, the name, change the name, it's all the same. Uh, so they are thinking about it. Not to mention that the Swiss exchange already has decided to create their own digital assets type of platform with this tokenization. It's called digital asset, you can call it tokenization, you can call it whatever you want, but that's the name of the game. So even the traditional ones are already thinking that this is probably the way it's going to go. Not to mention that if you have people, like you just mentioned his name, which I have much respect to him, Larry Fink, the CEO of the largest asset management on the planet with $30 trillion under assets under management, then if he thinks about that and he wants to be a big player in that, then I guess Nasdaq and all the rest, kind of like say, oh, you know what? If he has all this money to bring in, we shouldn't, say no.
What have we seen him do so far, though? I know he's done a lot of talk. Is he actually creating something, or is he investing in something? I haven't seen it yet.
I haven't seen it yet either, but what's interesting about him and the likes of him is that they talk but and they do things behind the scene, and then suddenly there's a splash. But I will not doubt it that he's already thinking about what to do. I mean, we already have something not, like you can think about equivalent, but on a smaller scale, KKR. They already tokenized one of the fund, the health fund. So private equities is very illiquid. You can't, and you and I, most of us, can't really participate in private equity.
Yeah.
But what if I want to participate? It's impossible today, unless I have, I'm sitting on a pile of money and I know the right people. But most of us don't. But
Right.
that is giving you access to all these other opportunities. And I think KKR doesn't understand it. And Larry and they did it in September. So Larry does see all of this, and it's probably in talks with all of, because they're all kind of in the same, you know, club, so to
Camp.
speak. So they're talking
Yeah.
to each other. So he knows exactly. So I'm sure that he's thinking about all of these things.
Well, I hope he is because I see the opportunity in front of me. I think there's a lot of regulatory hurdles that we got to jump over. I mean, the legalization of this is already in place. If you've done a Reg A, a Reg D, a Reg S, it's just adding the digital tokenization to it, which is causing some people to get sideways because they're afraid of what the SEC has done. But there's already been some projects, and the SEC they got their hands full with the crypto world, right? I mean, they're coming down left and right on them. And then the security token, the tokenization world is getting hammered, well, at least PR wise, because they're associated with crypto when really the only association is the blockchain. Other than that, it's just a digital representation of ownership of something, and that could be a debt instrument, that could be real estate, that could be a company. It literally could be anything. I don't think a lot of it makes sense yet because of how expensive it is to tokenize these things. It's going to get far less expensive in the future, but right now it's pretty expensive. I would probably wouldn't tokenize anything under $5 million. That would be me, and that's on the low end. But there's plenty of assets above $5 million, especially commercial real estate, mid-sized corporations, debt instruments, groups of debt, mortgages, and so on and so forth. So, what do you think it's going to take in order to move this part of the tokenization part of the market forward? I mean, there's already been some projects, but there hasn't been a lot of visible projects, or maybe they're visible, but it's harder. It's still kind of hard to invest in them. But what do you think it's going to take?
Well, I think there has to be more clarity on the regulation, even though we don't have to invent the wheel, because
Yeah.
tokenization, even, let's say with KKR, a fund that was tokenized, or you going to tokenize real estate or anything, which are already there are some platforms that's already done that. It's a security to like any security. So we don't obviously all the regulations we have for security still apply for this. We don't have to invent the wheel. It basically, if you think about it, it's just when we moved from the if you remember, I don't know, I didn't live on those days, but the history that I was read is that back in the days when you had the New York Stock Exchange, it wasn't electronics. You had like the workers shouting by this, by that, so it was the outcry, this of this is how they used to do it. And then we moved to electronics. But did the regulations change? No. Securities are securities. The regulation is the same regulation. It's just the way that we are facilitating that is changing. So there's more and more, becoming more and more technological. So tokenization is kind of like taking it to the next level from this, big outcry, people are crying, is shouting, buy this, sell that, to doing everything electronics now online. And then the online that we have, and that we can do it, from our phone, to now doing it in a better way and more efficient way with the tokenization. So it's just, more of an evolution. So the regulations will stay the same. There's no need to change the regulations if it's already in place. And I think this is something that the SEC has to be clear about and really differentiate this from what happens with FTX and all the rest, because it has nothing to do with that. It's a completely
Right.
different story, different ballgame.
Hmm.
They were basically doing things that they shouldn't have done anyways, even, with under any.
Bribery.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to say those, but I'll let
Hmm.
you do say it. They said
I'll
that they
say
did
it.
a lot of things that were illegal,
Yeah.
which no one should do, but that has nothing to do with tokenization or security. But it's kind of like the problem is that all of these fiascos, scandals that are happening are taking us away from what we really need to build, and it's kind of distracting in a way, very distracting.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I do want
yeah.
SEC to come and be more clear about it. Forget about FTX. We're gonna deal with them with these criminals and these illegal actions. And now let's focus and tell you exactly what the regulations are.
You'd think that if Gary Gensler were smart, he'd say, "Hey, we don't like this way," and that's basically everything but Bitcoin, is what he said publicly.
Yep.
And here's the model of what you should do. Not that I'm a big Gary Gensler fan, but this is the model of what you should do. At least do something like that. Instead, it looks like cronyism because he's just pointing to the stock market in the way we've been doing it forever. Well, times have changed. He either has to move on or he has to accept the change that's going to happen. I mean, tokenization is going to happen. It's already happening in other countries. We're starting to lose ground. You've already mentioned Europe. Europe's ahead of us. Pretty soon it'll be Asia. And that's sad because there's so much innovation in that. And it's more global. Why not tokenize something here in the US and people around the world have access to it? It's just not the first example that we talked about allowing people to invest in KKR's fund. Well, how about allowing anyone around the world to invest in a big real estate project or
Right.
something? I
Exactly.
mean, that's just huge. Not to mention, and I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant here, security tokens can offer things stocks and anything else can't offer. Yes, you have dividends with stocks. That can also happen on security tokens. But you can also, as long as you have it in your wallet, you can give out discounts. You can do a built-in loyalty program. You can give them voting rights. You know how difficult it is to vote on a board right now. If you're a stockholder, it's a pain in the ass. You could give them exclusive access to exclusive content, behind the scenes content. We talked about this prior to the show. It could be AI assisted compliance. What if you had a security token that told you when to sell based on your goals, or what country to sell it in, or what country to buy it in, because there's going to be benefits. Think about some of the stuff that could be put in there. Token upgrades. If you do a couple of things that the token issuer wants, your token becomes more valuable. It goes from common to preferred. It's really endless. It's whatever you can think of because it's programmable security tokens. So what are your thoughts on all that, and why would you want to go public on the stock market and not just tokenize your offering, especially if you're a small company?
Well, I mean, I think that, as I said, everything can be tokenized, and even with the traditional market that we have now, yes, every business can basically tokenize, but do we want that? I don't know. I mean, this is probably for a different show. If we need, that every, ice cream, shop will be tokenized, I don't know.
Well, it's too expensive to do that, but if it provides a level of transparency and if it provides some level of trust, I mean, even the owner could appreciate, hey, people are looking at me. I better run this business as cleanly as I can. I don't know. It's not for everybody, clearly, but mid-size and above, I would think everyone should be looking at it.
One of the things I appreciate the most with tokenizations is the fact of fractionalization. And this goes to even like a big project. Let's say I have a project here in New York City, real estate in New York City is very expensive. And every project can go for, tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars. And I most people don't have any access to that. And even with stocks, you don't have any access. But what if, and that's the whole idea, of tokenization, is the fractionalization aspect of it. You can basically really buy $1. I know that now, let's say Robinhood, for example, is telling you, yeah, you can buy $1 of Google. Do you really? So you're not really like buying the $1 of Google. Basically, they're buying it for you and some hundreds of other, people like you, and they own it. So you don't really own that $1 of Google, and you cannot come and claim, oh, I can vote, I can do this. No, you can do nothing. You own nothing. They own it for you. You're basically paying them, and you have nothing. But with the tokenization, this $1, you actually really own that percentage, even if it's 0.00000 of a percentage, but you own it. It's really you can say that this is yours. Unlike with the situation that you have, if you think about, Bitcoin, for example, most people don't own one Bitcoin. They own 0.0000000 of a Bitcoin. And why? Because it allows you this tokenization to create this fractionalization. And therefore, it opens up so much liquidity and also financial inclusion. We always talk about financial inclusion, but we don't do anything about it. But that's exactly the essence of financial inclusion, allowing everyone to be able to participate in the economy and invest and have part of it. And it's okay if I can say I have $1 of this. You see, this building is at $100 million, but I have $1 in it. No one can say that today. But you can.
We got to wrap things up here. I just have two more questions for you.
Okay.
What, besides the SEC coming out and saying, hey, security tokens are the way to go, or tokenization through this process that's already been defined as the way to go, do you see anything else to accelerate adoption of tokenization of real world assets? Anything else that you could think of?
I believe that if the institutional investors that I think, as you said, did he do any? Has he done anything yet?
Right.
If he really goes public and actually do things, maybe even he created this Aladdin, platforms. What if he created this Aladdin as a tokenization platform? Or call it Toki Alley. I don't know, something, something like that. And just, what do I know? And
Right.
I create this, that will probably create a huge buzz. That really will drive things because he has a lot to say. He's very respectful and also has the money and the assets. So if he and people like him actually will do that, that will definitely drive it. And who knows, maybe Gensler will stop, laying, and not saying anything and saying and not really explaining what he's saying and, be more upfront and say, okay, we're going to support it.
Yeah, I think it's people like Larry Fink and other well-known hedge fund investors coming in and saying, hey, we're investing in this type of situation. I mean, Larry Fink, they're buying up real estate all over the country, mainly single-family residences. If he were to tokenize all of those in groups, that could be pretty interesting. Or if they invest in some sort of tokenization platform like INX, T0, or even DigiShares, that could be very interesting. I think I agree. Some high-profile people, they're saying, hey, this is the way forward. You better get on board. So just to wrap things up, my last question is, are you going to write anything more about tokenization on Nasdaq, or are you going to stick with AI?
No. I'm definitely going to talk about that some more, and maybe even the combination of AI and tokenization.
I would love to see that. I mean, we talked earlier about, or offline, about some ideas that you had and I had. It would be an interesting cross section. I'm sure there's something happening already, and if there is, you send us a note. But that would be a powerful combination.
Yep, I definitely think so.
All right. With that, thank you so much for being on the show, and you're welcome back anytime, maybe after your next article.
Okay, my pleasure. Happy to be back.
If you've had the problems with banks and inflation and anything having to do with the US dollar or any currency around the world for that matter, you know how important crypto can be, but it's got to be the right crypto. So our friends at Tetragard have decided to create what's probably generally considered an ETF with 3 tokens, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and PaxG. They've wrapped it all up with a rewards token that's built in, and it's easy to buy. It's really quick at the website here. Now, the best part is you're getting rewards while owning this, and therefore you're making money just by holding onto it. How could you go wrong with this? Why would you buy Bitcoin, PaxG, or Ethereum separately, we can get them all wrapped together at the lowest prices with a rewards token built in. I can't think of a reason why. Can you?